survey counted 1.31 million cats in Taiwan in 2023, making the cat population here rise faster than the dog population. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can learn all about the animal kingdom and become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about animals. I'm just going to start us right off the bat with the news I'm most excited for because finally, after 5 long weeks, the first physical listener submission has arrived at Radio Taiwan International. I expected the first submission to be a little letter, so boy was I surprised to get a package. This appears to be from someone who saw the YouTube video I made promoting this little contest, so too bad, so sad to the regular listeners. What can I say? I have amazing viewers over there on my channel. I briefly opened this package just to make sure it wasn't something else, but I haven't seen anything beyond just the outside. So, the outside of the inside. This, which confirmed it is a letter. So, let's hope that there's a photo inside too. Or a drawing. From Miss Zheng, right? Oh boy. It is a letter, a card. Okay, good news and bad news. I had to hit pause for a moment because it was written in Mandarin and I didn't want to, I wanted to see what it was talking about before I said anything or tried to translate it. Good news is this is a very beautiful and super, super nice package. I'm not even gonna go into fully what was put in the package, but it's super nice. Thank you so much. The bad news, which is also good news for some of you, is there was no story about an animal or a picture, which means that somebody else has a chance to win the package of animal merchandise. Thank you so much. This was more of a supportive package, saying that they saw my video and they're very supportive and everything, so I thought I had an animal story to look forward to, though. Guys, send me something. Send me anything. I know how many people in the world have pets or have had pets or have meaningful stories or, that are related to pets. Send them in. Even if they're fun facts, send it in with a picture and you still have the chance to win a box of animal-centric merchandise. Actually, the postmarked date on this was the 24th of July, so it's not even like it was that long ago. So you still have a chance. I'm surprised. Wow. Week 6, no story. It has to be a physical letter. I'll tell you more about how you can submit your stories to be read on air later, but before that, let's get to talking about some main events. International Cat Day is upon us this August 2nd. I have cats in the US, I have cats in Taiwan. I wouldn't say I'm a cat person because that implies I don't like dogs as much when I love them both. I love all animals. Why do I choose? A survey counted 1.31 million cats in Taiwan in 2023, making the cat population here rise faster than the dog population. Are you familiar with TNR? Have you heard of TNR before? TNR stands for Trap-Neuter-Return. Here's what Neighborhood Cats has to say about the process. Trap-Neuter-Return, or TNR, is the most humane and effective method known for managing feral and stray cats and reducing their numbers. The cats, who typically live together in a group called a colony, are trapped and brought to a veterinary clinic. They're then spayed or neutered, vaccinated for rabies where appropriate, and ear-tipped. That means they cut a little triangle or the whole tip off of their ear. It's the universally accepted way to signify that a community cat has been spayed or neutered and helps those doing the TNR easily and quickly identify who does and who does not need to be taken in for surgery. After they've recovered from their surgeries, the cats are returned back to their original territory where a caretaker provides regular food and shelter. When foster or permanent homes are available, young kittens and friendly adult cats are removed and placed for adoption. Because the cats can no longer reproduce, the colony has the potential to decline in size over time. Spaying and neutering also greatly reduces nuisance behavior. In some communities, there can be complaints about noisy fights and yowling, which is often associated with mating. In the best cases, such noise stops almost entirely. Some unaltered males spray to mark territory, creating a foul odor, which also disappears once they have been fixed. It's generally considered a win-win for communities because the cats themselves are healthier and less likely to spread feline diseases or develop health issues. Like female cats, if they give birth too many times, their teeth will start falling out and they get infections and it could lead to death prematurely, and it's a horrible thing. So, meanwhile, rodent control is also maintained by the cat's continued presence in these communities. Like all methods, TNR is most effective when performed well. On a colony level, this means achieving and maintaining a sterilization rate as close to 100% as possible and being diligent about the cat's long-term care. Another significant advantage to TNR is that nothing else works. Again, according to Neighborhood Cat, for decades, the normal practice of animal control was to trap and remove cats, with the outcome usually being euthanasia. They say that the current overpopulation of free-roaming cats in the U.S. speaks loudly about the failure of that approach. There are many reasons why trying to eradicate cats from environments doesn't work. There are too many cats and not enough animal control resources. Removing one set of cats from a location where food and shelter is available can also create a vacuum for a new set of cats to fill. The people who feed and care for the cats resist their capture, especially when they know euthanasia is on the table, and the public is against euthanasia in general. Other efforts, like feeding bans or laws regulating cat owners, have also failed to make any difference. Because TNR is life-affirming and allows people to help animals in need, it attracts volunteers, funding, and other resources. This is why more and more municipalities and shelters are supporting TNR and developing their own programs. Many communities are seeing dramatic drops in cat intake and euthanasia at their local shelters as a result of TNR and other spay-neuter programs. In Taiwan, if you open up Google Maps and search for veterinary clinics, many of them put TNR right in their name. I'll have to look more into what that means, what that entails, but from my experience, some of them offer discounted and maybe even free spaying and neutering if you're doing TNR. At the very least, they're cooperative and supportive of TNR efforts. Now you know what TNR is. Again, that stands for Trap, Neuter, and Return. It has made a huge difference in communities across the world. I know in the US specifically. However, in Taiwan, it is just not cutting it. Late June, I attended an event in Taipei called Conservation Leads the Way, Life's Proper Place, where it was all about animal conservation efforts. There were 18 booths there dedicated to different facets of animal conservation. I'll name just one to give you an idea of how broad the scope was. One booth was about research dedicated to how birds can stop flying into glass windows and whether or not Taiwan has the need for such efforts. Spoiler, it does. Right on the large plastic fans they gave us, that had essentially two posters, one on each side. It talked about using TNSA as a replacement for TNR. As someone who assists with TNR in my community, I was just like, huh? What is this TNSA I've never heard of? Well, it stands for Trap-Neuter-Shelter-Adopt. So it cuts out the part where the animals are returned to the communities they originally inhabited and opts to shelter them until homes are found. While TNR has curbed overpopulation and the proliferation of diseases among stray and outdoor animal clusters in Taiwan, that sounds like a mouthful, aka TNR has helped, but the conversation surrounding wildlife conservation is shifting because research is now showing that more needs to be done to preserve and protect wild animals and their natural habitats. Stray cats and dogs increase competition for resources and predation risks. Multiple native Taiwanese species, including Formosan Reeves muntjacs that look like little deer, and leopard cats have repeatedly fallen victim to stray animal attacks and diseases. Taipei City Councilor Chen Shupei shared that kindness and caring alone cannot adequately protect wildlife. On the contrary, kindness and caring are often the reasons why many people release domesticated animals into the wild. Jin emphasized the importance of combining kindness and caring with knowledge. Jorny Liu spoke on behalf of the event co-organizer, Let's Go Supporting, breaking down in tears while recounting her journey that started 10 years ago as they approached the government to advocate for TNR initiatives. Honestly, her speech brought me to tears too, and I wasn't the only one. It was very brief, and I think it was spoken like off the cuff. I don't think she had it prearranged or anything. She spoke to everyone saying that of the 18 booths there at the event, actually, she believed only 17 of them were about animal-wildlife conservation, and the other one was her booth, where she supports TNR initiatives and helps with stray cats and dogs and communities across Taiwan. She said, being at the event and hearing how the professionals and the scientists and researchers are saying that stray cats and dogs are a huge threat to the wildlife in Taiwan made her feel incredibly bad, not only because she is the one who promoted TNR initiatives to the government 10 years ago when she started doing everything, but also because the cats and dogs who are causing wildlife in Taiwan to lose their lives are innocent. They don't know what they're doing. They are just trying to live their lives, and they're not trying to take out entire populations or species. That they weren't brought here of their own will. This is all the doing of humankind. So Leo pointed out that while stray cats and dogs have caused a significant imbalance in the ecosystem, it is not by any fault of their own. Beyond identifying and analyzing the problems, Leo said that humans need to prioritize taking the necessary steps to solve them. After all, we're the ones who caused the problems. If you go and look up TNSR online, you likely won't find a single thing. I searched TNSR instead of TNR on Google, and you know how many pages of results there were? 2! I can't even think of the last time that happened to me, given how much information is on the internet. Also, most of the 2 pages of results are all completely random. So this would appear to be a sort of initiative created by Taiwanese people to better fit Taiwanese ecological needs. So you're hearing it here first. Keep it in mind the next time you hear about TNR, and if TNR is a new concept to you to begin with, I'm proud of you for learning something new today. Good, that's the whole point of this show. We have a couple of newsworthy stories relating to international animal news this week, so please allow me to fill you in. Have you been watching the 2024 Paris Olympic Games the last week or so? This is one of those huge worldly events that I would not have expected animals to make an appearance at. And yet, as if it's out of some storybook, fairy tale, ratatouille itself, rats the size of cats have crawled up from the sewers and onto the streets following a significant amount of rainfall in the French capital. I honestly didn't think we'd be talking so much about rats the past few episodes, but I'm here for it. It's estimated that Paris has around 6 million rats, many of which live typically in underground hovels. Now, as the Olympic Games take place, residents and visitors have seen them scurrying through restaurants and bars. Some people and news outlets have pointed out the health risks they pose due to the bacteria found in rat pee and how it can cause leptospirosis, still easier than saying photosynthesis, which triggers flu-like symptoms, liver damage, and kidney damage. That aside, what a sight to behold, as these rats are cat-sized. Incredible. I do think there has been a disproportionate amount of rodent content in this program so far, so we'll stop there. Although I find it very interesting to reopen the topic and talk about some local species of rodents in a future episode. In other news, Grenada's Carnival Spicemas is taking place early this August. Grenada is the southernmost island of the Antilles archipelago in the Caribbean and has a history including the mistrials of slavery, invasion, and colonialism. The festival, Spicemas, grew from Mardi Gras celebrations and is rooted in rich customs and traditions which enslaved people created. The carnival being held is named Spicemas as a tribute to the island's famous spice production. Local music is played and people dress up in costumes. While this is a fun lesson in history and culture, it loosely relates to animals because performers have been told to refrain from using animals like snakes, chickens, and dogs as part of their performances during the island's celebrations. The warning comes from the Veterinary and Livestock Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands. They say such acts are offensive to local, regional, and international veterinary communities. In fact, the division says police officers have the right to apprehend persons without a warrant if they are suspected of an offense under the Cruelty to Animals Act, which is punishable by imprisonment. It does seem like certain systems are in place to also ensure any affected animals get the treatment they need if they are to be injured in any such events. In other news, the BBC just a few hours ago reported on a leopard that attacked 2 men at a South African Air Force base. The Air Force base sits on the border of the world-famous Kruger National Park. One of the men was out on a run when he got attacked, while another, a civilian working on the base, encountered the leopard while on a walk. Fortunately, both individuals were admitted to the hospital with no more than a few scratches. They'll both be okay. In order to prevent such attacks from happening again, the leopard was caught and relocated to a sanctuary about 100 kilometers or 62 miles away. Around 150 leopards are known to be living in the area. Not something I would typically think of as something I'd have to worry about in this specific area, and it is fascinating to think about. In some parts of the world, you might go to work and potentially be attacked by a leopard. Well, I do know in the US we have a few bear attacks, especially if you're going out into the woods, you're going camping, so we have a special kind of pepper spray that we use against bears specifically. Anyway, typically these leopards in the area feed on wildebeest, antelope, and fish. Hopefully not humans. I do like sharing a lot about positive worldly events, like animals getting rescued, people getting rescued by animals, or just interesting facts, new research developments. But there is one news story this week that is covering news sources that I feel like I can't really avoid, and it's not that positive. Turkey approved a law to remove stray dogs from the streets. It is being called the massacre law, and opposers are opposed to it because they fear that it will lead to many of the dogs being killed or ending up in neglected, overcrowded shelters. Their president still needs to sign the measure into law, but thanked his ruling party and allied parties' legislators who voted in favor of the law following an intense and tiring session. So it's not necessarily set in stone yet, and it doesn't guarantee that that's what will happen to the dogs being mass killed and put into neglecting shelters, but it definitely does raise concerns for a lot of people. Just keep that in your mind if you hear other news about it coming out of Turkey. Again, I am so grateful to our lovely, lovely listener, Miss Jung, for sending me in a letter and a package. It was very, very sweet. And I look forward to two other things in there. Also, what an ugly laugh. I'm sorry. I am very ecstatic to hear anybody's story about pets and animals that means something to you. So please send me letters via snail mail or the post, or send me an email. It could be the simplest thing. It could be a problem you've run into, a fun fact, a question, whatever. I can always put together 2 packages, so if there's one coming out of Taiwan and one coming out internationally, I'll do that for you. If you are sending in a letter, the address can be found online. Just look for the number 55 Bei'an Road address in Taipei, Taiwan. And write your emails to tristan@rti.org.tw. That is tristan@rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. It's not gross, it's cute. Thank you for tuning in, friend. All animals require enrichment, and Formosa Fauna is just that. After all, we're all just a bunch of wild animals. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.